All right, so Unit 1, Lesson 3, Solving Linear Equations, and title and objective exactly the same thing. Big thing here is, this is review. This is stuff that we have covered through Algebra 1, through geometry, so this should be a really good kind of just refresher on how to solve equations and the things we do, the steps we take to solve those equations. So this key concept starting off, stuff we've already covered. If you add the same number to each side of an equation, that addition property of equality says it doesn't change the truthfulness of that equation. So if A equals B, A plus C, B plus C are still equal. Works the same for subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, the first example, we're just going to kick it right off with some fractions. 3/4 x plus 15 equals 33. So, if we remember from solving last year, year before, the first step for me to solve for x, I would want to subtract 15 from both sides. So I'm going to do minus 15, minus 15. All right. 3/4 x remains the same. And that equals 18. All right? So 3/4 x equals 18. The way I read this mathematically is 3/4 times x equals 18. So if you think about it, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm essentially going to be taking 18 divided by 3/4. Now what we've got to remember is that dividing a fraction is like multiplying by the reciprocal. So for me, I'm going to undo this by multiplying both sides by 4/3. And that cancels out my 3/4 on the one side. So my solution becomes x equals 24. All right? And when we're dealing with fractions, we get to a certain point where it might be numbers we can't really do mental math with, and that's fine. If you're using a calculator and you're not sure how to do this, what I would do is I would take 18 times 4 in my calculator, and that would be 72. So I'd hit equals, that gets 72, and then I would take 72 divided by 3, and that gives me 24 in my calculator. So using your calculator strategically is fine. Now, if you can use mental math, please use mental math. I mean, that is the most efficient way of doing it. But if you're not sure, or you just want to double check the answer, use a calculator for sure. But you got to know how to deal with those fractions. Those aren't going away, okay? So moving ahead to the guided practice, I feel like you guys can handle these. But again, pause the video, try these independently, and then once you're ready to check and see if you're doing them right, resume the video, and then I'm going to explain through them fairly quickly. But just make sure that you're doing those self-checks throughout. That's a big important part of this, of you building towards being able to do that checkpoint, building towards being able to do that unit test. So, solving this equation for guided practice 1, 15a minus 6 equals 9. I would start solving that equation by adding 6 to both sides. Oh, that's bad. Adding 6 to both sides. Try that again. So if I add 6 to both sides, negative 6 plus 6 is 0. This side is left with just 15a, and that's going to equal 15. For me to solve, do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Divide by 15. In the end, a is 1. And that is solved. So if you're not sure, you do a lot of work and it's kind of jumbled and things aren't, quite clear where your solution is, I like just circling or putting a box around my solution just to keep, things straight, that I'm highlighting what I was trying to find. So number 2 here, solving this. First step, subtracting 3 from both sides. I get 5/6 y equals 10. And then just like that first example we covered, it's you knowing I have to multiply both sides by 6/5. 6/5. So again, a little mental math trick for you with fractions, and this one's a little bit easier to do. I would do 10 times 6, divide that result by 5. So me doing mental math, 10 times 6 is 60. 60 divided by 5, 12. So it's a good kind of way to do some mental math to solve these equations. All right, so just make sure that you're double checking your answers, that you're working through the practice with some integrity, and you're doing your best to ask questions when they come up, because this is meant to help you guys become independent learners. So keep that up, keep up the good work, and this video is going to conclude. Then you can move on to the next step in the lesson. So once you're done with this, do the next step, next activity, and then I'll have another video that explains the rest of these notes.